Hey, what's going on folks? It's Mike here and welcome back to the Deep Programming Language series. In today's lesson, we're going to continue talking about asserts, but a different type of assert. So this type of assert that we're going to talk about is called a static assert, and it's something that's checked at compile time. So if you saw the previous lesson, which you can check in the playlists below, it's the idea that asserts are something that we can use at runtime to enforce some sort of contract about a program while it's running. So we use these as a developer to make sure that our software is super safe, and usually we compile them off when we deliver them to our clients and handle errors in other different ways. But again, they're our tool to use liberally throughout our program at runtime to find different errors. Now, static assert is our tool for compile time finding different errors. So let's go ahead and just start taking a look at that here. And I'm going to go ahead and take us for the documentation, the language reference, and we'll scroll down here to where you'll find conditional compilation here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that here. And we're going to use the static assert here. So let me go ahead and zoom on that. Now, we are also going to look at something known as a static if today in one of the examples, which again, very similar to an if statement, but it's just checked at compile time. So again, you're going to find this pattern in the deep programming language where you have static if, static for each, for instance, to indicate that it's something that's happening at compile time. Okay. So anyways, let's go ahead just briefly to show you again, static if, we'll see how it works. I'll put a little pragma in, but basically it's just a condition that's checked at compile time, and that's it. Okay, and then it'll generate the code. So it's kind of related to mixin. You can kind of think about this as if this condition is true, then we get this block of code that's going to execute or be added to our program. And you can, of course, combine these different tools with some of the things like mixins and so on. But what I want to do is take us down to static assert, the very bottom of the page here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at this. So again, this is something that's evaluated at compile time, again, versus regular asserts, which were at runtime. This is while our program's compiling. So you're going to see me using DMD today, and we won't even need to run our actual programs and see if we get different messages for our asserts. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll keep this example open here. But let's go ahead and hide our software updates and go ahead and use an example here. Now, a common thing that you'll see if you're coming from other programming languages for static asserts, for instance, is maybe taking a type like int, checking the size of that type here, and then we can also give ourselves a message here for what must be true, right? This is the condition that we want to enforce, a sort of contract with our program, if you will. We want to say ints are 4 bytes. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. You'll see in this program here, let me go ahead and remove any of the object files here. What I'm going to go ahead and do here is just compile it here with main here, and you'll see that this seemed to pass, right? I get an executable file, I get the object file, so no problems here. Now, if I was going to do something to make this fail, like set the size to something, I don't know, kind of random like 7, and then let's go ahead and do that same experiment where I remove the executables here. Again, just so you can see we just have our source file. I'm going to try to compile this again, and we get an error here. Okay, so this is effectively giving us a compiler error here because our assertion's failing, and it doesn't build our code. Okay, so that's what we want, right? We don't want to have code that's executing that has some situation that's not true, right? An integer is never, or at least I haven't heard of one that's 7 bytes, okay? Just a reminder too, for folks, if you go to the types page in the language reference, and the basic types, the D programming language does have well-defined sizes for its types. Things like ints, for instance, are 32 bits or 4 bytes. Where this might be useful, though, is something like a real, where you could do this test, because different architectures are going to choose the largest floating point size available. We might find that's consistent, we might find that changes over time, but again, this could be something useful to do. This might as well be useful also if you just want a sanity check, or for some reason you think these things are going to change. That's something that you could do. But where it does tend to be useful, though, for instance, this sort of size of check here, let's go ahead and get this back in a good state where it's compiling, is if you build your own sort of structure here. So I'm just going to say my, let's just call this a vec, let's just call it s right now. And let's go ahead and have int I, float f, bool b or something. And let's go ahead and do a static assert here. S.size of, and let's see if my memory is correct here. This will be 4 bytes. This will be 4 bytes. This is going to be 1 byte plus some padding. So I think we're either going to get, let's see if we get 12 here. S is 12 bytes. Let's see if that padded as I assumed here. And it is, okay? So that could be very useful for us to again have this sort of assertion here. And let's say now some user comes in later on and says, I don't know, let's go ahead and just create another int here. And then later on we say, oh no, something's changed here. Because maybe you're using this struct here or something and you're serializing it or sending us a packet of information or whatever. So again, there's still a nice reason to have this assertion at compile time that something's true if you're relying on this later on in your program. Okay, maybe you're doing some math to figure out the offsets yourself of how big these things are. So anyway, still a nice tool to use there. Let me give you a few other kind of use cases here. For this, let's go ahead and just write another struct here. I'm just going to create a vector here. And I'm going to practice with our templates here, so it can be templated. And let's go ahead and have a size variable here. Okay, so this could be like a 2D, 3D vector for math and game programming or something, or linear algebra, one of these things. But let's go ahead and use this tool that we have, static assert, to assert something interesting, I guess. So we've learned about some different tools here, and I want to specifically sort of constrain this size to be 2 or 3 for my vector, okay? Let's go ahead and just make this larger here just so we can see all of our code here. Now we've learned about some different tools here, right? And I could give this a default parameter here. So just a little bit of reminder here. And our vector is just going to hold some array here of a type here. Maybe it's of integers, floats, and the size. And let's just call this like elements or something. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go ahead and compile this. Works fine, okay? So that's fine here. But we learned about template constraints that we could use. So for instance, I could come in here and have some conditional that says if size is equal to 2 or size equal to 3. Okay, so that's a test that needs to pass here. And let's go ahead and instantiate some of these. Okay, so let's do vec here. The template parameters, we're going to say int, and then the size will be 2. I'm just going to call this a vec2. Let's go ahead and do this for a vec3. I don't know, this could be floats here. And let's go ahead and do a vec4 in a moment here. Okay, let's go ahead and compile this. Oops, I typed floats here. There we go. All right, so if I compile this, no problems here. Let's go ahead and see what happens if I have the floats here. Let's see here. Let's delete that. There we go. And let's make sure that the names are different. And if I run this, now I'm going to get this template error here. Okay, so I get error, template instance, does not map template declaration with a size 4, must satisfy one of the following constraints, right? Size must equal 2 or size must equal 3 here. Okay, so we have this sort of check that's happening here. So this is one way that we could enforce things, okay? So we've talked about this a little bit here. Let's review some of the concepts here. This is a template constraint, some predicate that must be satisfied, okay? And then the other things that we've reviewed here are template parameters, and we can have the, here's the type here, T, and then this is, if we want like some sort of size here, again, for some sort of elements, okay? And again, this is the problem here. So, here's one error message. Something that we can also do that's kind of interesting with what we've just learned here with static asserts is I could have this static if here, and I could say if size is equal to 2, maybe I could go ahead and I could just go ahead and pop in 2, and then I could go ahead and say static else if size is equal to 3, okay? And I could do the version with maybe 3 here. Okay, and then I could do, well, let's just go ahead and see if this much works here, actually. I'm going to go ahead and comment that out here. Let's make sure that we're still working. Oops, I don't have a else condition here. Else, let's go ahead and see. And I'm missing one curly brace, it looks like. Actually, this is the little issue. Static if there. Okay. There we go. So a little syntax thing here. So this is working, right? It's compiling our code, and we can do a little pragma message. Instantiated a vec2. Let's just do it like this here. vec with 2 elements. Okay, we'll be a little bit more specific. And then we'll go ahead and have a pragma for 3 elements. Okay, and we can see that we get those pragmas at compile time, right? We haven't run our program yet, really important. We're just using DMD, not RDMD or anything. So keep that in mind here. And let's go ahead and add in our else here. And what I want to go ahead and do here is let's just go ahead and do our static assert. And I can just put 0 here, okay? Something that's like or false, okay? So I'll do 0, not a supported number of elements for our vec, okay? Let's go ahead and compile this. And what are we going to get here? Well, it looks like we're going to get the template constraint first. So that's not a problem here. So this is still failing, still not doing the right thing. But let's say if we don't have the template constraint here. Let's go ahead and comment that out here. Then I'll get my static assert failed. Okay, so not a supported number of elements in our vec is being printed out. And this could be an effective way, again, if you don't have constraints to check things. So you could use it as an either or tool. I'm not sure if this is lowering to something else. I mean, it's effectively enforcing the same sort of condition here. But we can use these tools like static if, for instance, to check at compile time maybe how we want to set up this structure. And then really what I want to show you is this little trick here. And we can do the same thing with asserts, but just to assert 0 if it doesn't meet some condition. And that way it'll fail. Because maybe later on I do want to come back and support this for vectors of size 4 or something. And then I'll add the else if case or whatever here that I need. And the reason that you might sort of do this thing, again, with the static assert, is if you are using like a conditionals with static if, okay? I've shown you 2 different ways to do it. The way I'd probably prefer this is the template constraint. It's a little bit easier to enforce, in my opinion here. But if for some reason, if you had static ifs here and maybe conditional code, or maybe there's something else interesting that you want to do here, like for instance, you don't want to use an array. Again, I don't know necessarily why you'd want to do that, but you might have wanted to write your code instead like this: type x and y, and then type x, y, and z, or something like that. Again, you could have this sort of, I don't know, just a different setup here, rather than using the array. If you go back and watch one of the, I think it's a struct or union video too, you can do a neat thing where you can have an array, an access that is either elements or x, y, and z if you use a union. So again, just keep that in mind. Or rather, a union of a struct with the elements and the individual elements here. It's kind of a nice trick that you can do as well. But anyways, hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the different things that you can do with static assert. Super, super useful tool. It works as well in unit tests and other things that we're going to talk about. So you want to use this as a tool in general pretty liberally to, again, enforce different conditions that are in your program, okay? So again, here was the basic use case where we're just checking at compile time things like sizes. We can effectively use it like a template constraint or in combination with static if to generate different code and then have sort of a fail condition if for some reason there's some case that we don't want. We could just static assert 0. And that's also going to sort of tell us that, hey, something's not supported or I need to go implement this later. So it's kind of a nice tool to have as well if you're pushing your code down some path. And again, the big savings with static assert is that you don't have to actually be running your program and push it down a specific control path, which could take time or more energy, right? The compiler is looking at all of your code while it's building, so it can figure out these things at compile time. Alrighty, folks, so with that said, as always, feel free to check out this lesson and more on courses.msha.io here. And I hope this was a useful lesson. And as always, thank you for your time and attention. I'd love to hear in the discussion below anything else that you've got to say about static assert. Alrighty, folks, with that said, I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.